Oh, the mistake, and McBreen's clean through on goal here to win it. What a miss from Daniel McBreen.
Fucking dog shit.
G'day everyone, and welcome to what is almost the penultimate episode of 2024. It's been a big year for A-League Off Air, and I have to say I'm particularly looking forward to this episode because we've got a whole lot of shithousery to talk about. Basically, from Friday night all the way through to Saturday, there were a couple of big things that caught my attention, caught my ears over the weekend. The first one was the word lucky, used in several senses over the weekend. Obviously, Chiefy pulled it out in the pre-game ahead of the derby. Now, surely Chiefy saying another team is lucky is the most classic example of black kettles being thrown in glass houses, because if there was a fucking lucky team in the A-League over the last 18 months didn't they get a draw in Melbourne Victory without having a single shot? Didn't they win a game against Melbourne Victory the other day without a shot on target? So look, Chiefy, another thing, if you're going to start doing pre-match shithousery, and remember all the rumours that you had some poor old YouTuber posted up in your changing room all last season for saying that Wellington were going to finish last in the table, and that you used that as motivation. Fucking hell, you were at Sydney FC. If anyone knows that Bimby gets the fucking shits with banter, it is you. You know this. So don't go to Bimby and saying he's been lucky. Anyway, from what I've heard, and we're going to chat about it later, this all came back to bite you on the arse, not only on the pitch, but perhaps a little bit after as well. So we're going to have some random, completely unjustified, unsubstantiated rumours. I'm going to try and get like a current affair recreation with our guest and Macca to see if we can recreate a little bit of what went on in the changing room. The second thing about lucky that came up on the weekend, and maybe I'm drawing a bit of a long bow, but it's this whole concept of lucky country. Rob Stanton, what the fuck, man? You come out in the post-game saying, these hands built this country. Okay, there's a lot of nuance in this. What, you got love, hate tattooed on your fucking hand on the left and right? I mean, Okay, there are a lot of people that would say, perhaps fighting, punching on was not the way to build the greatest country on earth. There are some people that would say without free education, with hospitals, with, all sorts of the Indigenous community, all sorts of the issues in Australia, that perhaps, we could have tried it a different way. I'm not getting into that. That's not my point. My point is, Rob, you came out looking like a fucking old man shouting at the clouds. You're a former youth team coach. You got to know how to talk to the kids, telling them to fucking punch on. Maybe it's like, were your parents telling you not to listen to rock and roll music? I mean, for fuck's sake, you can't pull the generational thing. It just doesn't work. Telling kids that they're born with silver spoons in their mouths. Oh, look, we've got so much to unpack. Fucking hell. Macca, welcome to A-League Off Air with two miserable old fucking farts. That's you and me, by the way. We've got a special guest too. We're going to find out whether he's an old fucking generational fart as well. Macca, how was your weekend?
My weekend was good. I went 12 weeks without drinking any alcohol and blew that out the water on the weekend, and had 11 beers on Saturday when I got home after the derby, and felt fine on Sunday, so I don't see any reason.
Ooh, I like it.
There's no warning to say you shouldn't be drinking, Macca. It was like fucking crack on. So Christmas is here, and bring on the cheer and the beer. It's going to be a good one.
You just laid the foundations.
Exactly.
Laid the foundations for the festive spirit.
That's it. Well, I know I'm going to have a big one for our Christmas party get together, so I needed to have some practice.
Keep that under wraps. This Thursday. Is it this Thursday?
No.
I think
you
it
don't
is.
even know what
Thursday after.
Unless you've got another one that I don't know about. Right. No, but good weekend.
We're gonna go.
Plenty of football to talk about, and lots of shit to talk about.
Exactly, lots of shit. Let's get going then. We do have a very special guest joining us, and we did promise not to stop talking about the Kiwis and how well they're doing in the A-League, but with the derby coming up, and it's a good thing we did because there was a whole lot of shit to unpack. Old Socceroo fans, and I want to talk about this with our guest because I've been in recent episodes trying to make kids feel desperately unsatisfied with the fact that they were born after the 1990s, which was the great period for football in the world. It was the period where names went on the back of the shirts, when Sky TV went into the Premier League, where the Champions League changed its format, where people like Zinedine Zidane really, started to bring it to the next level. And he was right in the thick of it. Unfortunately for the Socceroos, he was also part of a great generation for the Kiwis that knocked us off a couple of times in the old Oceania finals. Played 57 times for the All Whites. He's back over in Oz, and I wanted to ask him how he ended up back here, actually, because I know he played here and then was backwards and forwards. Coach of Cooks Hill United in the MPL. Is that still the case? Yes. I'm getting a nod. Yep. Very good. So, Chris Zoricich, welcome. Can we call you Zorro?
Certainly you can. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on board. I'm looking forward to it, especially hearing the bits and pieces just before we come on here.
Now we like to always ask, did you play with Macca? How do you two know each other? Because I saw there's a Newcastle United type vibe here running through the CV. What do you remember about a young Daniel McBreen before he went off to, or is this after you've tried your luck at kickboxing in the UK?
This was after.
Pretty much what you see now is what I remember of Macca. He hasn't changed very much. He was, 18, 9. Oh, how old were you back then, Macca?
I think 23 when I got my first contract, yeah.
23, shit. You acted like a 16-year-old,
Correct.
but yeah. Just very, I remember Macca was a very jovial, pranks, kid-like personality, but good to be around. It made me feel a lot younger than I was. So yeah, I was happy to hang around with Macca's antics back then in Newcastle. It was enjoyable.
Clearly a bit of a smart ass back then.
He was, but like I said, I don't mind that. It shows you got a bit of character, and hence why he went on and did what he did. I think that was part of the reason why he became, a great footballer himself. He didn't take no shit back then, and obviously doesn't take no shit now. So, it gives me a lot of shit. I know that much, still. But yeah, no, good times. I love my time in Newcastle. I spent 3 good years here, and back in Newcastle. Initially, my son came over, signed for the Central Coast Mariners, so I came over to be closer to him, and just fell into Cooks Hill coaching job, and now helping out Damien Zane with the Jets under 23. So, and obviously with Macca and his academy as well.
Okay, Macca, what do you got to tell us about Zorro?
Zorro was a serious head in the group, still is. Very quiet, very thoughtful. So we might not, I don't know, we might get his loose lips here, but usually has a lot, thinks about what he says, very, astute. Doesn't like mornings much, as I've noticed with our academy when I turn up and I say, "Morning, Chris," with my jovial voice, and he just goes, "Morning," and keeps walking and setting up. So that's a bit of a run.
To be honest, it must be you, because now I'm doing mornings with Damien. I'm quite happy with him. So.
Yeah, because Zaney's a real high up personality as well. So you two must really play off each other. You'd have to be the fucking up one.
Now, I have to ask just one more question before we get started. A lot of people think that, the Chelsea Football Club revolution started when Abramovich came in and started throwing the money around. But, Chris, you can confirm that 1996-97 season was the one that really changed English football, because they fucking signed you. Ruud Gullit as coach, brought you in. Tell us this, because there was the fucking European revolution in English football that season, and they obviously thought you were actually Croatian and not a Kiwi.
Yeah, to say I signed is a bit of a stretch. I was there. I did play 9 reserve games while I was there for a couple of months, and it was during that season where they won the FA Cup. And I'm actually in the FA Cup video. They did a song. It was Chelsea, the old song, and they had clips of training.
You're a streaker.
And they in the actual video, and I've got it at home, but it's in the old VHS so I can't play it on anything. So it's a waste of time. I can't show anyone. But yeah, we just had clips of training, and I'm in those clips. So yeah, a bit of claim to fame there. But what a time that was! Like, I was just training there, and I know at the time actually Frank Farina was on the phone to me calling. So they just made the semi-final, I think it was back then, at the year they won the grand final, and he was saying, "Look, come back. We're going to make semis where we want you back." And my wife at the time. I was saying, what do I do? Do I go back or do I stay here? Because I'm playing in the Chelsea reserves. Something might happen. There's lots of scouts. And in the end, it's probably one of the only regrets I have, although, training at Chelsea alongside Zola, Vialli, all these guys, far out. What an experience. But I probably should have gone back to Brisbane and played in the grand final potentially, but I missed out on that. Didn't go back, and we actually ended up going back that next season. So, probably a little bit of regret there.
Still, it must have been as you say, one hell of an experience to be around that squad. I mean, Gianluca Vialli, fucking hell! I remember, watching him at Sampdoria, coming through Juve, fucking Chelsea. Incredible player. What an athlete.
There were, you can rattle off the names. Desai was there, like Zola, watching him do free kicks after training. It was just unbelievable, and him, it was Leboeuf, him, Zola and Dennis Wise practicing free kicks. And Leboeuf used to just hit them like with laces, and they'd fly in for sure. Same with Dennis Wise, good free kick, but Zola was just another step. Every single free kick he took was top corner. It was just outstanding, just crazy. And he had a butler. He had a chauffeur. He had a chauffeur. There was this guy at the training ground standing outside. He would stand there every day just outside the doors as you go into the training. And he had the suit on and the little hat. And I just thought he was the doorman. I thought he was the doorman in the complex. So every morning, hello, and I thought, open the door, whatever. And then I said, who is this guy? Oh, that's Zola's chauffeur, because he doesn't drive. I'm like, all right, this is a completely different level to me. I don't know. I don't think I should be here.
Fantastic. All right, well, let's get into it. We're going to take it not down a couple of notches. We're just going to step sideways a little bit towards Friday night's game, from the heady days of Chelsea in the mid-1990s to Suncorp Stadium against Brisbane Roar against Melbourne City. Macca, this one started after 52 seconds. Now, with it was the Cohen and Cohen show, or Kern and Coon and Cohen.
Throw Truan in there as
one-way traffic. Yep, exactly, true. Jay O'Shea got a consolation penalty back before Ugarkovic got a fourth. Fastest goal of the season, really set the tone for this one. Brisbane, Macca, in all sorts of disarray. This was after a couple of promising outings where you thought perhaps, they're not far away from turning it around. They just fell back in a heap here.
Yeah, they did. It was done at a canter from Melbourne City. Scotty Neville's, only back from a long-term injury, just recently back. He was just dwelled on the ball, and that was enough. Cohen stole it off him and got a little bit lucky with the finish as it was deflected in. I think it was one of the defenders trying to get back to cover, but took it well. They could have been up with almost a carbon copy a couple of minutes later, where Coombs stole the ball again, crossed it, and it just sort of rolled harmlessly across the box. But they just cruised. Lovely finishes from Jonathan Cohen, both of them. Again, Cohen massively involved in it. And you just couldn't see. It was all one-way traffic. You couldn't see any way out for Brisbane. They weren't controlling the ball in midfield enough. Brisbane, Melbourne City, I think, got a foot up their arse after last week, how flat they were after having the break.
Yeah.
We heard last week how Aurelio Vidmar said that he's worried about the break, and they were so flat last week. I think he put a real rocket into them and said, you've got to start fucking fast this week, because they were sharp on the press when they moved the ball around quickly when they won it. And down the left-hand side with Politidis, Kern, as his Bates was getting involved as well, they caused all kinds of problems for Brisbane Roar and really done it at a canter. 4 wins away from home.
It was 20 days without a game the week before for Melbourne City because their bye coincided with the international break. Zorro, as an ex-Brisbanean, if that's what you're called, what do you make of where Brisbane are headed at the moment? And I know this is not new. It's been a couple of really rough seasons for them, but at the moment it's hard to see where the light is at the end of the tunnel.
It is, isn't it? And to be honest, there's similarities in a few teams in the league. I'm finding, Newcastle, similar sort of situation, Perth as well. For me, for Brisbane, when I look at it, obviously I'm not privy to their training sessions or anything like that, but it just seems to me they've got some really good young talent up the top end of the field, but they're not getting the ball there quick enough and with any quality for these young lads to go and show what they can do. Because in fits and starts, you see really good pieces from Zoricich and obviously Waddingham as a goal scorer, but they're just not getting the ball there in those areas for them to go and do their stuff quick enough. If I was coaching, I would say, look, guys, let's get the ball there as quickly as possible. You young fellas, just run your asses off. And if you can only last 60 minutes, we'll put some fresh legs on and just go and high pressure teams and get the ball in dangerous areas. And then you might get done on the counter attack every now and then, but so what? At the moment, trying to play out and all that, it doesn't seem to suit them.
Macca, is there a little problem with, we talk about the young players and needing to get them the ball. Zoricich had an off day compared to where he's been the last couple of weeks, but I think he's not alone in that. But is there a problem with someone like Berenguer in this side at the moment? Because he only played a half again. He's in and out of the team. He's a player that with Jay O'Shea, if they can start combining, he's a player that can find that pass, can thread the ball early to a Waddingham in behind, can bring a Zoricich into the game. And he's not giving his best at the moment. And he's a player that you'd look to and say, he's one that could help him turn this around.
Yeah, look, Zorro mentioned Perth and Newcastle there as well. I think Brisbane's got a much better squad as terms of individual players than those two teams have, so they should be on top of them. When you look at that midfield and you look at Berenguer, you look at Jay O'Shea, you look at Zoricich, 3 very technical players who really you should be able to say, right, you guys get on the ball, bounce it around, even under pressure. Those 3 you would expect to be able to keep the ball for you, move it around, bounce it, get into little areas and face forward. But they're just not doing it. I thought Raphael Strike or however you say his name, because Strauk, he seemed to be on a different lane to his teammates. Every time he ran away, they were looking for him to come to feet. Every time he came to feet, they were looking for him to make runs in behind. I also thought, to back up what Zorro said, many times I thought Melbourne City had a high line when Brisbane had the ball just in their mid-third but facing forward. And you think, every now and then, Strauch did make a run in behind or Waddingham did make a run. You think, do you know what, just clip one in behind and turn the defence and get them to go there. But everything was short, so they could step in with the press really easily. And there was no worry about, it's going to go in behind. So they just go real aggressive. And I thought they didn't mix that up enough. Sometimes to avoid that press and that stress in the midfield is you go, you know what, just sometimes, just go running behind and I'm going to play it in the path. The next time, the midfielder or the centre-back might go, I'm not going to go that extra 3 or 4 steps. I'm going to wait because if that ball goes in behind, I'm fucked. And that might be enough room for you to get your space in midfield. And I don't think they mixed that up enough, particularly in the first half. But I was on comms in this game and I kept thinking, just think one in behind. Just give those guys up front something to run onto to test the back line. But they didn't do that. And I think they're trying to play nice tippy-tappy football, but they're not really doing it. It's really hard to put your finger on it. But to do that...
Well, it's because Sorry,
No,
Macca,
you're right.
but it's because those teams, down the bottom, you lack of confidence. So if you're trying to play out, if you make a mistake, it's like, extra pressure. And like you say, so just get it in a good area of the field. Because even if you dink that ball over and you don't actually get the ball, you're in a good area of the field now. And then the likes of Berengay and,
O'Shea, Yelich.
sorry, who's the
O'Shea, Yelich.
But they're now facing forward. So you want those players facing forward. You don't want them receiving with the back to play all the time and trying to find passes. If they're now coming onto it, the opposition now trying to play out, you nick it, bang, away you go. You're in a good area of the field.
Yeah.
The stats seem to back up this discussion a little bit, and also maybe, I mean, it's a 4-1 scoreline they're on the back end of, but they had more possession. Granted, it was basically 50-50, more XG, more shots, less shots on target. I mean, stats can also be deceptive because the game was pretty one-sided once, City had the early goals. So perhaps that's just to be taken into account. But touches in opposition box, more than twice as many for Brisbane, more final third entries. I mean, is it just a question of confidence then? Are the building blocks there? Is the foundation there?
Yeah, and
all it's going to take is that just to turn the corner.
But have a look at where the shots were. This is one thing that I think I spoke with about Simon in the commentary, that the shots are... I don't think there was a shot. The only shot that was from really inside that danger, if you look at that triangle where you go from the 6-yard box or the post out to the penalty spot, there was the penalty. Every other shot was around the edge of the box, wide in the penalty box. There was nothing. It was like the arc that you're keeping away from the goal. Melbourne City never let them get in there, or they never broke Melbourne City down to get into those areas. So, yeah, they had more shots and all that, but they were from areas where if you're going to score, it's going to be some kind of an effort to score. And I honestly believe that Melbourne City just went into cruise mode after a little while, and we're just like, we're just going to see this through. It's quite comfortable.
Before moving on, we have to have, unfortunately, I think, the discussion of Brisbane playing at Suncorp, even if it's just very quick. Raphael Strauch brought in 4 million Instagram followers, but they could even do with just a couple of fans in the fucking stadium. It's such a far cry from that late 90s Brisbane, even and then, when they won the grand final, and that was the first time we really saw Brisbane packing it out, that team. And then obviously under Ange, which was, 50,000 at Suncorp, and, brilliant. There's this talk about Perry Park. It's a 10,000-seater stadium. They need to upgrade it. It needs improvements, lighting for broadcast and otherwise. But that's where they're at. They have to, do everything they can, surely, to get in there.
Yeah, I played at Perry Park back in the day when it was Brisbane Strikers, and it's a great little venue, and obviously it's been upgraded since I've been there, hopefully. But yeah, no, that would be perfect. Suncorp's way too big for, unless it's big games like you say finals where you can get people in there. Yeah. It's way too big.
But Perry Park should be too small for any game for Brisbane. Unfortunately, it's not at the moment. I mean, the women's team play there. But if you're only getting 6, 7, 8,000, that will look great at Perry Park. That'll be a great atmosphere. And then, it won't be long before you're generating atmosphere, you're generating demand, you're selling it out.
That's the thing.
And then you can think about that next step.
That's the thing. I'd rather have a sellout Perry Park at 10,000, capped at 10,000 if that's what it is, than having 15,000 in a 55,000-seater stadium. I'd rather create the demand and say, well, if you want to go to the games, you've got to get a ticket or become a member. And then finals may be different because they will get bigger crowds, but you want to go to those grounds where you go to, we don't talk about overseas very often, but even the third division teams overseas, they play in 8,000, 10,000 seater stadiums. There might only be 6,000 or 7,000 people there, or even less at times, but it sounds great because you're compact and you're on top of each other. That's what they need to be doing, and I know they're working on it, and they're trying. Everyone in the world seems to be lobbying Queensland to do something about it, and the government to try and help them. We all know that this is the perfect solution for them, and I do know that they're trying to work on it as well, but they just need to get it over the line. I think it'd be such a better atmosphere and product that it'd be more attractive for people to go.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got first division teams in Belgium and the Netherlands and Portugal playing in 10,000-seater stadiums. I mean, you don't even have to go down to the lower divisions.
Yeah, of course.
That's
Yeah,
if
of course.
this is, these are big footballing countries that are operating with this model as well. All right, Brisbane, pull your finger out, fans. Get down there. and Brisbane, Ruben, get the best out of these players because you have a squad that's better than fucking rock bottom at the moment. This is the big one then. The reason why we've got Zorro on the pod. We are going to do that recreation afterwards, so I hope you're working on your acting skills, you two, as well. Couple of nervous looks. Auckland, in the derby. First of all, let's start at the very beginning. Chris, are Auckland lucky to be where they are at the moment? And before the game, before we talk, 5 wins from 5, no goals conceded. I mean, it's not only, you can say it's luck, but fucking hell, you've got to be pretty fucking lucky if it's only luck to go 5 clean sheets in a row, 5 wins out of 5 in your first 5 ever games.
Yeah, for sure. And look, with the wisdom of all my years now, everyone knows you make your own luck. It's not about being lucky. You are working your nuts off to make sure everything goes right for you. And that's what they're doing. And to be fair to them, they're doing a fantastic job. You have to hold your hands up and go, I was a little bit skeptical, to be honest, when we first started. Seeing the players they'd signed and everything else, I was like, it might be a struggle for them. But geez, they've done ever so well. And I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit later. But even off the field, I'm hearing they're doing good things. So you can't say that that's luck. Yeah, maybe, a couple of games winning streak, you might consider that being lucky, but now 6 in a row, no, you can't say that that's luck. Purely
Macca.
Just luck.
Yeah, Macca, what did you make of the game? It was a bit of a slow burn. It was a classic derby match, if you like. There's clearly a lot of feeling already between the two sides. When we talk about what they're doing off the field, it also takes 2 to tango. There is a great rivalry that's already built there, Wellington from their side and Auckland. The match really just exploded into life in the last 15 minutes. The tension and everything started to boil over. That's when we really got derby vibes. And apart from that own goal, it was a grandstand finish.
Yeah, well, before the game even started, let's talk about the shithousery, which I'm fucking loving from these two. Wellington flew the flag, the plane over in the game. Then they took their W from the Ellington, and just, I don't know if you noticed, but in the corner there was the big W in right down in the corner. So that they've stolen it from Wellington and put it in the corner. So I love that. They made the capacity one more than the record from last time and beat the
Wellington's all-time crowd record, home crowd record. They bettered it by 1.
They beat it by 1 just to really fuck with them again. So I love that again. But look, it comes down to the players that they've got in. Defensively, they're solid.
Just on that, hang on. Don't you love the fact that that's probably not even true? And yet it's gone down in history that they had 26,353 or whatever it was. No one's going to count. No one actually gives a shit. It's one more than Wellington. Yeah. Fuck you guys. Done.
Yeah, I love it. And being around football for so many years in so many different countries, I know that crowd figures are very, very sketchy at times as well. So who cares?
Exactly.
They've done it. Now that it's Wellington's turn to dodgy up some stats maybe to get it next time. But I like that they've done it by 1, so this can go for years and years and years and years and years. You don't want to break it by 5,000 and not be able to break it later.
We had 2 people sitting on this seat.
Yeah. The game, it was a bit of a derby at the start. It was bit scrappy, bit fiery. But I summed up for me by the 2 goalkeepers. We heard Spooners talking to Chiefy about the last time the goalkeeper made a mistake and gave the goal away in the 90-whatever minute. First half, Wellington got plenty of balls in the box, in particular in the first half. Crosses in, and Alex Paulson came and claimed every single one of them. Claimed his area was his. No one was getting near him. He copped a few whacks, just got up, had a bit of a whinge at times, but got up, got on with it, and just looked safe as houses. And at 1-0, the game's poised, and you're thinking, it only takes Wellington one chance to score a goal in these games, and then it's all on again. And the second goal is a free kick from right back near halfway on the sideline. It goes 60 metres in the air. It drops in the 6-yard box. And Harp said it in our conversations as well. The two defenders were fucking garbage. They didn't do enough. One, you got to block your man even before he even gets there, but they didn't even jump. But they were taken over by the fact that Oluwayemi just took 1.5 steps and then
Didn't
just
come
stopped.
for it.
And you're like,
Yeah.
if that's at the other end, Alex Paulson's just come through, and if he's not taking it, he is fucking punching that ball over the sideline and taking everyone with him. And that's 2-0 now. Bang. He basically, Pineacre heads it into an empty net. 2-0, game's over. Yeah, they came and got a goal, but you knew then that it was done. Wellington weren't going to win that game, and that just summed it up for me. Goalkeeper of the year on one hand, who was at Wellington last year, new goalkeeper, 2 derbies now, 2 horrendous mistakes that have cost them the games. And Chiefy will, probably back him and say, we all make mistakes, but that was, for me, was a defining moment, and they were the two contrasting things that made you feel really confident that Auckland were going to win it, and that Wellington just weren't good enough. And they were dominated across the park. Don't get me wrong. Don't let me just say it was that one moment. I thought Auckland were the better team all around. Their record for clean sheets is ended, but they've now broken Preston Lions' 6 wins from the start of a season from 1986. So they're still flying. They're still doing well. 18 points from 6 games. And they keep sharing.
But also going back to that goal, Pineacre, what the hell is Kolakowski and Sam Sutton doing marking Pineacre? Where's the centre back? He's a centre back that's obviously they're aiming the ball to him, and you got 2 short players. It's not going to work, is it? Obviously.
No.
Plus, he's already scored from a set piece kind of goal where he's caused havoc in the box.
Yeah.
He's one of the main targets. Yeah. What did you make of what? Not only that, but the rest of the game, Zorro.
Yeah, similar to what Matt. I think Auckland were dominant pretty much from the start, without the ball, to be honest. I'm watching again. I know the players pretty well, and there's players, for instance, like a Logan Rogerson, who has always been a good player on the ball, but his work rate off the ball has always been a little bit questionable. But I'm watching him chasing back, losing the ball, trying to make up for it, which I never have seen in him coming through the ranks as a young kid. We had him in the under-17 World Cup squad. Again, very good, effective going forward. We had to try and get into him, that other side of the game, the defensive side, which, he struggled with, to be honest. But now, I'm seeing him do that, and they're all doing it. May, the striker up front, he's doing the same. Maya, whatever, however you say it. Yeah. He's doing the same. He's doing great work with the ball, but I'm watching him running and chasing, and they all seem to have that. And of course, it comes easy when you're winning. It's easy to make those runs. When you're down the bottom, sometimes you don't want to make those runs. It's just too hard. And I think, again, that's probably where that luck thing comes in, but they're making it happen for them. Yeah. Not just with the ball. They've been good and scoring goals and not conceding. It's actually their work rate which is impressing me.
Macca, let's highlight that example then, because last season, and I'm talking about the second goal, not to dwell on mistakes, but let's talk about the coaching of what's going on, because Chiefy's always saying, we switched formations, 48 times in the first half, once per minute, just to keep the opposition confused, all this sort of thing. Does he overthink it a little bit when in a derby, and not to go all Robbie Stanton on everyone, but you got to fucking just get the gloves off and stand up, I mean, these things, I mean, this is also, and we will chat about it with Newcastle, but the fight aspect, the stand up and be counted aspect are the non-negotiables. They're the givens that in a football match you can, and we talk about this week in, week out, but they're the things you almost don't have to say, I need to see more spirit, more fight from my players. If that's the case, then you're in trouble. But Wellington are not. Last season, we couldn't believe how well they defended, how the desperation on every fucking, Sermon and Wooten and throwing themselves. Paulson, is he the difference? Because he is outstanding.
He is outstanding. And I do think he was one of the major key factors. Before this game, he had more saves inside the box than any other goalkeeper. So it's not like that teams aren't picking apart.
It's not lucky.
Yeah, they're not picking apart the defence, but when they do get there, they've got to come up against the goalkeeper of the year, who I think is going to have a tremendous career. I just think he's sensational. He's athletic. He's good with the feet, ball at his feet. But these games tend to come down to small moments, and Zorro hit that nail on the head there, is that why are these two small guys or slight guys marking a big centre-back?
Yeah.
And why isn't the keeper coming and just fucking demolishing all of them and punching it away? You look at the first goal, the own goal with Sakai, who was fantastic as well. He just sort of drifts into that box and everyone sort of just runs away. And I tried to watch on the replay a few times. There was someone who ran out it might have been Sam's, to go put pressure on the ball and just sort of forgot all about him. And I'm just like, these are small errors that we weren't seeing from them last year. Like, they had bodies in the box in those areas and there was no space whatsoever. He had so much time and space to turn in the box. It was just like, oh, he's the right back. We've just forgotten all about him. But again, credit to Auckland. They just ground it through. They got all the small moments right. Dan Hall at the back, I think, also is unreal. I think between him and Pineacre, they kept Costa very, very quiet, and it's no surprise to me that when Dan Hall, I know he gave the ball away for Costa's goal, but he was out of the back line, and that's when Costa found the space and the speed to get in behind, because Dan Hall was reading everything, and he is quick as fuck as well. So he made it really hard for Costa to find that space, because when Costa normally burns away with his speed, people can't keep up. Well, Dan Hall's one who can match him, and I think there's no mistake that while he was out of the line, that's when they got him behind as well.
And Auckland fans may not want to hear it, but thank fuck they conceded a goal, seriously, because everyone else is sick of hearing about it. Question for Zorro, and I'm just pulling this one out of my arse. Ollie Sale returning to Wellington. Is this something that we could envisage? Because he's been dropped. He hasn't rediscovered his Wellington form at Perth. He probably, I think, well, looking from the outside, could do with a change of scene. Perth clearly can do with a change of scene on many levels. Would that be a worst case scenario for January?
No, yeah, I know Ollie very well. I coached him. I think I gave him his debut in New Zealand in the NPL sort of level. So, yeah, no, Ollie, I haven't spoken to him recently. I was actually, when I saw he wasn't playing on the weekend, I was actually going to reach out to him and say, hey, mate, what's going on? What's happening? Are you all right? I know he's been through a tough period. He obviously had a very good season and left Wellington. He was supposed to go overseas. That fell through for whatever reason. I don't know what it was. So I know, and don't quote me on this, but I think the thinking was he went to Perth, thinking it was like a short-term deal before, and then he would go back overseas. So, but unfortunately he ended up staying there, and you know, he's been through obviously a tough time and then come back in, and he seemed to be going okay, but obviously the team's not going well. And now he's back in that scenario where, okay, we need to make changes, and he's one of those changes. So I can't see him. He's a good lad. He's a great lad, and he will take everything on board, and he's not one of these to throw his toys out of the pram or anything like that. So yeah, change back to Wellington. Maybe that might be good for him, going back home, back to the family. Just to settle him, because like I said, he's had a few unsettling months at least, or year. So yeah, no, I could reach out to him if you like, and see what he's thinking. But he's definitely, he's a good goalkeeper. I mean, talking about keepers, going back to Paulson, I remember when he first came in to the Knicks, Ollie had left and now he's got his chance. I don't know if you guys remember, but I remember watching those early games. Mate, he could have got punished. He was playing out. You know, everyone was talking about how good he is with his feet. He could have got punished so many, and it happened in the weekend. You know, that save he made, and then I can't remember, it was the young lad, the right back for Wellington that should have scored. He should have just tapped it in, and those sort of things were happening a lot when he first came into the Phoenix. And you talk about making your own luck, or he's lucky. He was lucky. And he was lucky again in the weekend, but no one's saying, oh, he was lucky. It was just, it's just something, he's got that aura now that I can fuck up, but it's not going to cost me. For some reason, I don't know. He's just made that, he's just so confident with everything he does. It seems like he can do nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that about him actually as well, the goalkeeper aura that he has, and the fact that I saw the team photo, the selfie in front of the port, and he's up the back giving it the big ones, I was Wellington, but I'm actually just a fucking professional goalkeeper, and I love winning, and now I'm Auckland, and I'm loving this. Don't you think?
Again, he's a great
gives
lad
off
as
those
well.
vibes. Yeah,
he's a great lad, very respectful, always said hello to me, again, great personality, and I think that celebration, it is a little bit like fuck you sort of thing, but I think it's just a release for him to go, oh, okay, I've made the right decision, or if it wasn't his decision, I don't know, but it's just like, okay, it's working out for me, it hasn't gone tits up,
Yeah. And Sheridan, I'm putting a hand up here for him for potential miss of the week, but I think we're going to see there's a work.
Oh, no.
There's another one that's going to outdo him. But that was horrendous because that was a 70-something minute, 72nd minute. If he scores that gives him 20 minutes a chance. So that was one big moment that you went, ooh, you've let that slip through your hand. And we always talk about Auckland being so ruthless. They don't get many chances, but they score. The last game, Barbaroussa struck one straight down the throat of Paulson. Ishigi headed it one down and over the bar, and then that one there. You look at those moments, and they're normally when Wellington score and things happen. They didn't take it, and then they end up getting beat.
Okay, no, we're getting close to the completely spurious allegations of what happened in the tunnel post game. Just want to give one more shout out to Rufa for trying to kick the shit out of Tuvi late on in the second half, just because it was hilarious. And he just walked away going, yeah, fuck it. I did it. Yeah. He wasn't trying to say I was playing the ball. I was doing, he knew exactly what he was doing. It was there for all to see. Good stuff. Just putting it out there.
Nothing in it.
Old school. Love it. All right. So, now, this is all allegations because obviously we weren't there. I don't think we've received any confirmation, have we, from anyone in the last couple of minutes?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
We have.
Scoop.
I saw
okay.
I saw the first sentence. I don't know if I can scroll off this, but I saw the first sentence that he sent me. So,
right, let's leave the name out of it. Read what the message says and tell us what happened.
I'm happy to say the name. He's thrown me under the bus many times.
All right.
So this whole lucky thing. Well, this is what I heard, and we're about to get confirmation. And please feel free, Zora, to just have a look and get, check the message in its entirety. So basically what I heard was, and just put out before we started recording, was that in the tunnel post-game, with the lucky comments that have been made by Chiefy. Now, Chiefy was probably a little while getting back into the tunnel because he shakes hands with everyone and is such a lovely guy and everything. But this was either a misjudgment or whatever, but he walked into the tunnel, clearly Bimby and his staff, and in this case, from what I'm told, Danny Hay, Chris, you confirm or otherwise, the assistant coach. Basically
everyone would know. Out of that coaching staff, everyone would know. If you knew him, it wouldn't be a surprise.
So he was waiting, and as soon as Chiefy appeared, there was a little reminder that, who's lucky now? You cunt. All words to that effect. Now, that's perhaps a bit harsh. Again, these are all alleged comments, but
good alleged comments.
It wasn't. It's good alleged comments.
It's funny. I didn't know what was said, but when you read that out, then I am 100% know who that person was now.
I love
there
it.
may have even been another couple of words in there if that helps confirm.
So I'll read the text that he sent me then.
Okay.
So I asked the question, great result, what happened? I heard there was an altercation. Word for word, he said, I said, what happened in the tunnel? He goes, fuck all. I just told Chiefy that he needed to show some respect in the media. That's what he sent me.
So
Beautiful.
he did call him.
So, and fuck all happened, which we all probably know what that means as well.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Stuff.
It's not the only little skirmish stuff we're going to hear about going down. All this does is build up
Stokes
the
the
third
fire.
and final derby of the season as well. Exactly. Stokes the fire. That is coming. We'll leave that one there.
Mm-hmm.
The derby, which sees Auckland 6 from 6, top of the table. This one can be a little bit quicker. Western United 0, MacArthur 0, Ironbark Fields. Should I very quickly tell you about my weekend and my trip to Ironbark Fields?
Quickly.
Okay, very quickly. We were on Matilda's duty and all our flights got cancelled, so we were put on 9 a.m. flights down to Melbourne. I picked up a people mover bus and I had Grace Gill, Tara Rushton and Neve Owens in the bus. Now, because we found out 48 hours earlier that we'd all been moved onto an early flight, I started having a look around about what we could do for the day before the game. So I went and bought some party hats and blowers, those things, and decided to create a party bus for us. And our first stop on the itinerary towards Geelong, and only stop as it turned out because everyone was a bit sick of it after that and was hungry, was Tarneet, because there's been a whole lot of talk about Tarneet, but no one's ever fucking been. So we went there. It is quite the experience. We went there, we got party bus photos taken at Tarneet. I'm sure someone must have shared them on their Instagram or otherwise. So that was all a bit of fun. We went to Tarneet. It was at probably 11:30 in the morning, already very, very windy. It will be a whole lot better when there's, high-rise buildings all around that stadium trying to stop that fucking wind. Because as we saw in the match, this was not easy. Macca, on the game, what can we really say? There were a couple of good saves from Curto and Sutton.
Yep.
0-0. MacArthur seemed intent on keeping that clean sheet that they've been unable to do, that's proved so costly for them. And Western United firing blanks this time.
Yeah, look, they had enough opportunities to win the game.
Yeah.
MacArthur had more of the possession, but Western United looked a lot more dangerous in that front third, and probably will be ruining the fact that they didn't put one of them in the box. Ibasuki passing one wide in the first half, a good save from Curto as well from a tight angle. And then in the second half, it was just seemed to be the ball would fly anywhere near the goal, but just outside it, wouldn't go in for them. You just kept thinking one of them's going to go in, and it just wouldn't. Conditions were made very difficult by a really strong wind.
Shout out Luke Bratton for trying to hit a free kick from 40 metres out that bobbled along the ground despite a gale force wind at his back.
Yeah. Yeah, could play that one. It was just one of those games where you just thought, I'll be honest, it was a game that I started to get a bit distracted with other shit going on in my house because it was like windy and you just thought one of them's going to go in for Western United and they're just going to win 1-0 and we're going to go, okay, yep, and that's it. But they didn't. And yeah, I don't know. Zora, did you see anything that I didn't?
I was trying really hard when I was watching it to think of something to knew I was coming on here. I was going, what am I going to talk about here? Yeah, that wasn't great.
Yeah, Wallerty was all right. I thought. I always
Denzaki was okay.
Yeah, I like it.
I thought in that,
I'm a big fan of his. Always have been.
Oh yeah, so youngest player ever to reach 150 A-League matches.
Youngest player, oldest looking. Yep, I tweeted that over the weekend. And check out my Twitter. I found a little baby video of when Angus was a baby as well. Oldest looking man in football. He's still only 24. But yeah, not much going on in this game, really, was it?
All right, let's leave it at that, shall we? All right. Next up, and hang on, maybe I'll do the who the fuck am I? Okay, let's get there to break it up a little bit. So this is our weekly quiz. Zora, you can have a go at trying to guess who it is. It's about in your guys' era as well, and mine. obviously. So last week's answer was, Macca?
I can't even remember
You got
the
it
fucking question.
while I was reading it out.
Oh, goal,
No?
Vanuatu, that's right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It was goal. Who I think is studying at the moment to get involved in football management once his career has gone. So, yep, goal, the brilliantly named attacker who had a career in Australia and overseas. I think it started out at Gold Coast United. Can't remember my notes from last week. Anyway, I remember calling one of his goals, and it was a great moment to pretend to be a Colombian commentator and just go, goal, Mubratu. Okay, so this week's quiz question, and congratulations to everyone who got it right. Obviously, I don't think there were many this week. There were a couple who got it right. There are only a couple of people answering as well these days. Everyone's had about enough of this, and to tell you the truth, it's a bit of a ball ache trying to do it every Monday morning before the pod comes on. So, maybe the days are numbered for Who the Fuck Am I? Who the fuck am I? I came through the ranks in the Victorian Premier League. As a teenager, I headed overseas, where I remained for 15 years with 5 clubs in 4 countries. I won a league title and a national cup comp, as well as earning over 50 caps for the Socceroos. I even showed that I could do it on a cold, rainy night in Stoke. Before I returned to play a final season, there's no full stop there after Stoke, just a comma. Before returning to play the last season of my career in the A-League, little extra clue in there. I didn't score a goal in my last season in the A-League, and I finished undefeated in 3 games against Sydney FC and 3 games against Melbourne Victory. We did not make finals. There you go. Who the fuck am I? Not an easy one, but fantastic player. Went to a World Cup. There you go. That will help you all
Sorry, you got
narrow that one down.
What was that?
Any idea?
No.
Me either. I never do.
No.
Okay.
I can keep adding little clues and bits and pieces, but I won't.
I like it harder.
Let's
it
go.
to be harder for the people. Not everyone should get it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, fair enough. Next up, and there's plenty to talk about at this one as well. Shall we start with the post-match press conference?
Go for it.
Adelaide defeated Newcastle by 1-0. I think that means Newcastle still haven't scored at home this year. I don't think they've played too many games at home, to be fair.
They lost against City.
This has been a problem. I remember this last year as well. They took their calendar, their fixture list before Christmas was so frustrating for the fans back there. Between fucking monster trucks and the fixture list already. They hardly ever play at home. It's so, how can you generate any interest? How can you generate any vibe around the team? And to add to that, there's the team on the pitch.
That is spoken about by football people in Newcastle. Got loads of friends who want to go to games and they're like, there's like 2 games before Christmas and you sort of lose touch of what's going on. You want to take the kids there. And then it's like, well, when is the next game? Oh, it's 6 weeks away. It's like, for fuck's sake. And you're right. This seems to happen. Well, this is the second year in a row I can think of that. It just seems to be so long between drinks that people sort of lose track of when the games are, what's going on. And then by the time you get around again, it's like, fuck, when was the last time that we played at home? But it doesn't help when the team's been shit on the pitch as well. And you're alluding to Robbie Stanton's comments about where he said he might bring the boxing gloves to training and they can sort themselves out that way and show a bit of aggression, because he was asked, Eli Adams and Wellersol had a bit of a disagreement at full time and I'm not sure if they had to be restrained, but do you know what? And he said he quite likes that. It's good. Maybe they need more of that. And I agree. It shows that actually Eli Adams gives a shit. Plenty of talk about around town too that, people come from out of town, come to Newcastle and they don't really give a shit. They're not dying for the badge. They're not dying for the club. And question marks have been asked about that around town quite a lot in the past few years as well. And you can see that Robbie Stanton actually gives a shit and he wants his players to give a shit. And to show that Eli Adams actually started to have a go at someone after the game shows that he's not just here to fuck around. And he probably knows that this might be my last chance to make a go in A-League because I've been quiet the last couple of years. And it's true. And I know that, but I think Robbie probably lost everyone when he said it's a generational thing and then started saying this whole generation because you can look at other clubs and say, well, the young kids at Sydney aren't doing too bad. The young kids at Adelaide aren't doing too bad and are willing to fight as well. And, that's just to name a couple.
Yeah.
The Mariners have been as well. So I think he's probably lost to people when he...
There are actually young people all over the world playing football.
I think he probably lost he lost traction with that part, but I do agree with his first sentiment is they should show that they give a fuck, and he would like to see
absolutely.
that. So how many times over our careers did you see players being pulled apart at training or after matches and that because you want the best for your team and you hold each other to standards where it comes to blows?
Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty sure you and I would have come close to in trainings to close to bros. Well, I definitely wanted to smash you. I know that much, but yeah, no. Unfortunately, as a coach these days, you do have to sometimes take a breath, and even though you want to say something, otherwise you're going to be picked apart like this. I remember actually, and obviously the older you get, the wiser you get. And when I was captain of the New Zealand team, we were over in Mexico before the Confederations Cup, and we had a training session, and it didn't go well for myself personally. And straight away, a reporter came up to me. It was a New Zealand reporter, news crew, and they wanted to do an interview with me. And I refused to do it because I knew I wasn't in the right headspace, and I would have said something that everyone would have fucking blown up about. And they were all shocked. They couldn't believe, because it never happened before. And I was like, yeah. And maybe sometimes, and I know it's hard, you've been asked to go in front of the media, you have to sort of go, but maybe you go, hey, I just need to go to the toilet, or I need to have a drink, because obviously clearly he was upset, and in the moment he's come out and started saying something which was okay, but then unfortunately you carry on and say the next thing, which you go, hang on a minute, what are you saying? So you've lost that first bit. Would have been great. He cares, he's passionate. Fucking we agree with it.
Yeah.
But now it's sort of lost because of the other comment, unfortunately.
I think also one of the main things to come out of it was the way you could see his brain ticking over about the gloves and getting the gloves, because actually maybe gloves are a fucking good idea. And we know, and this is made even more interesting by the fact that over the last couple of weeks, rumours have emerged from training as well that there has been a bit of fisticuffs at training without gloves. And maybe that's been the problem. So there is a bit of fighting around at training, and there's been a couple of, a bit of a skirmish, but no gloves. Yeah. So maybe they need to just make that all a bit more official.
Well,
Macca,
speaking of gloves.
Last week, speaking of gloves. No, go.
I'm just going to go in straight off the back of that into the game and say, speaking of gloves, and if it wasn't for Ryan Scott, this would have been over and dusted in about fucking 3.5 minutes. Honestly, at one stage, I think it was 4 minutes in, and I'm like, this is going to be 7-0. It was fucking horrendous from the Jets. And fair credit to them, Ryan Scott fucking saved them. Sushnir, that pass that Goodwin should almost scored, and he saves that. Then there's another save, a couple of other saves as well. They rode through that Newcastle, and they were fucking awful the first 15 minutes. I think 17 minutes in, Adelaide had already had 10 shots. 17 minutes into the game. But fair credit to them, they slowly scraped themselves back into the game and started to do well, and they did better in the second half. Lockie Rose should have scored right on the touch of half-time. That was a fucking
crossbar.
Contender for miss of the season or week.
Yeah, but we've still got one more. I've noted it down.
And they started Adelaide fell off. They started with such hype and so much intensity, and then they just fell off and allowed Newcastle back into the game. Red card came out for Falami.
We've got to talk about that.
So I'm going to talk about that now, and I'm going to say, for the letter of the law, 100% I think it's a red card by the letter of the law. As any footballer will tell you, though, as Zora's already shaking his head, it's a yellow card, fucking get on with it. Yeah, because he strikes out with his arm, he slaps him on the top of the head and goes like that.
Yeah.
any footballer will tell you, even Kanchar gets up to get him up, just like get on with it, let's get on with it.
Exactly.
By the letter of the law, I can see why the referees gave a red card. As a footballer, just give him a yellow card and fucking get on with it.
Zorro.
Yeah, I was astounded when I saw it. I was at the game and, I turned, who was I sitting next to? I was sitting next to Bogues. And we were both.
He definitely would have said it's not a red card. Fucking hell, he's got 900.
Yeah, but we knew as soon as it went to VAR, we knew he was getting a red because, like you say, to the letter of the law, you hit someone in the face. But fuck, take it in contact. Have a look at the contact. It wasn't a fist. It wasn't a punch. It wasn't an elbow. I mean, I've got plates in here because someone's, in England, smashed me with a proper elbow, and that wasn't even a booking. And again, you old fart back in the day, it was a lot tougher. No, it's not. It's just about, get on with it. There was no need to even intervene VAR, in my opinion, in that.
Yeah.
The players were happy, have a little scuffle, right, break it up, play on.
Yep.
And nothing would have happened. You don't have to be picking things up like that.
What I also liked about this is the fact that Kankar copped a whole lot of shit last year for the Robert Mack incident. And here, I reckon he pretty much covers himself in glory. He fucking dragged the guy down, gets hit, gets up, all fine, didn't go on with it, fucking couple of little words, bit of, he's clearly under the skin. He gets under players' skins. I like it. I like that from Kankar in this situation. So fair play. Keep getting under people's skins. Just don't be an asshole about it because you came out looking like roses. One more on this one, which is clearly now with the post-match press conference. We sent out a call last week on last week's pod, which Sydney FC players, I don't know whether they listened or they're already into their group celebs anyway, the young kids there, the generational gap, they're embracing it, love it. Of the group celebrations and the choreographed goal celebrations. Fucking hell. Wellersol and Eli Adams. If either of you do ever score, you have got to pretend to do a UFC cage fight with each other to celebrate the goal. With all your teammates get around going, fight. It'll be brilliant.
Someone chucked him a pair of boxing gloves and he puts them on the pitch.
Yes.
100%. This is set up perfectly.
Mate, it's there. It's a gift. It's been given to you on a platter. All you've got to do now is just score, have the gloves ready. Someone from the squadron, have the gloves ready to go. Chuck them onto the pitch.
100%.
We've got it. This is too good. All right.
So we're making another call for more celebrations, guys. We want more fucking creative celebrations. Let's go.
Exactly. Now we're getting ready. I think we're getting to. Is that all? Do we have any more comments about how shit Newcastle are, about how Adelaide need to be more consistent? Stephen Mort getting goal. Perhaps we should mention it.
Just quickly going back to Ryan Scott, I know, I was at the game and very early on, obviously they were under the pump and there was a little lull. Actually, it was really quiet in the stadium and he called over to the bench and went, fucking hell, get them pressing. I think it might have been Daning. It was on the right-hand side where they just weren't pressing Adelaide at all, really. And he just turned to the bench and screamed out, fucking get them pressing, And so it shows there that there's something not quite right, obviously.
Yeah, all right. That was where the goal came through, wasn't it? The overlapping run, Kiddo down the left, square ball. Okay, miss of the season so far came up, I assume this is what we're all talking about. Melbourne victory, 2-0 over Perth. Again, plenty to unpack in this one. I was calling this one, having just got back from the party bus trip to Geelong and back. Melbourne victory, ahead Zinedine Mashash. If he can keep doing this, he can win the Johnny Warren medal this year, I think. He is a fucking monster in the middle of the park. We've spoken about it. I just love the way he can run with the ball, but I also love the way he combines with Arzani, with, your Piscopo, your Santos to a certain extent. But he brings other players into the game. He moves around. He's on the left. He's on the right. He's through the middle. He's running ball at feet. If he can just maintain that, I don't know if it's concentration. I mean, he should be scoring more in a game like this as well, but sometimes he just starts to overdo it a little bit. That's the only thing I would say that's preventing him really from taking Melbourne victory almost on his shoulders to a next level. But Macca, Adama Traore, first appearance of the season, he adds the second. Perth again just offered so little for so much of this match. There was one period in the second half where on came Nathaniel Blair, Davey Williams. They sort of started to play a little bit higher up the pitch, but it was too late. The horse had bolted. I think those changes came literally 2 minutes before Adama Traore added the second goal as well. So it sort of pulled the rug from underneath them. But Victory, are they the most attractive side in the A-League at the moment? I mean, we talk a lot about the potential of Sydney FC, but they've just got players who are fucking ball players.
Well, they've got good-looking players throughout their team, like who could be models if you're asking if they're the best-looking team in the league.
That's Auckland. Auckland's team sheet photos. Have you seen them? Fucking hilarious.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I've got two stats written down here, and I'm not the stats fan, but touches in opposition box. Melbourne Victory 43, Perth Glory 1. Final third.
Even their shots were from outside the box.
Final
it's true.
third entries. 35 for Glory, 100 for Melbourne Victory. I don't think I've ever seen 100 final third entries in a game, even that goes for fucking 120 minutes. But that in itself tells the story. We can go on. Perth Glory are going, they're now 17 games without a win. The record is 19. They've got Newcastle at home and
it's Newcastle home, Western United, and
Newcastle at home
MacArthur.
and Brisbane away are their next two games.
Brisbane, yeah.
So they're their next two games. So if they can muster up a win out of that, they'll avoid being equal with the Kings as being the worst team ever for a record that way. But I still look at it and think I'm not sure they can. As bad as Newcastle and Brisbane are, they're fucking terrible, Glory. Kanga, I just think he's a liability. I heard someone say on social media how he's played 3 times for his country. I'll never know.
8.
And I was like, well, I sort of have to look and wonder how as well.
I think I've had that about my career too. How the fuck did he?
Yeah, fuck. I think I used
People
to
have
say
short
that
memories, don't they, Zorro?
I think I said that every day in training back in the Newey days. How the fuck does this guy play for his country? He must be shit. But I'm just watching him defend. So I don't know if you picked up on this. And every time someone was running at him, he'd go backwards for a little bit, and then he'd just stop and lunge in, and
then stop.
And then Mashash, who are these players, and Arzani, who are good technical players, that's what they wait for. They wait for you to commit yourself and dive in, and they just move the ball to the side and go past him nearly every single time. I'm like, surely you've worked out that that's not fucking working.
Yeah, the size of him and obviously defensively Perth are woeful, right? And I'm looking at the size, and I agree. Looking at him going, fuck me, he's not really an international player at the moment, but players like that, you can't have them facing you. If you're a big lad, get up there and don't let them turn. Just go and smash them. A halfway line, go and let them know, like, I'm not, the ball might go past me, but you're not. And I know it's a little bit old school, but that's what they have to do. You can't do, like you said, what they're doing. They're sort of half going and then too late and then lunging and then fouling in bad areas. It's just crazy. If you've got big, strong lads there, go and put something on the game. Go and win every single header. Go through someone, at the right time. And, I'm just looking at the body languages, especially I watch, Taggart up front.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's not trying. I'm not saying, I don't know him personally, and he's a very good player, don't get me wrong. But I'm just watching every time he lays off and then spins and goes and the ball doesn't come to him. I just watch and it's just like that. He's deflated, and you can see that it's energy sapping for him because he's not getting the service, or, he's just looking and going, fuck, the ball can't even get to me at times, So yeah, it's not a great sign.
I'd be surprised if Adam Taggart hasn't rung his agent and said, get me the fuck out of here. I know he's got a long-term deal, and there was rumours earlier in the year that he's got a good contract and Perth were looking to maybe offload him. But I think he might be going, look, you want to get rid of me? Fucking happy days. You let me go, I'll go. Yeah, because unless they do something remarkable in the transfer window, what's he going to do? He's going to continue.
Well, Macca, is this is the question. There's either that option in January or there's the option get rid of all this fucking dead weight and I shouldn't be get rid of the players that are not working out at the moment, that are not performing. Caicedo wasn't even in the squad. We saw him pissed off and head down the tunnel the week before because he'd been subbed on and then subbed off. Aoyama, the Japanese midfielder, they've tried him on the right, on the left, in the number 10, gone, not in the matchday squad.
Hamzawi.
We've just spoken about Lewis Kanga. Hamzawi, who is the famous marking of pain for that Wellington Phoenix goal. I mean, that was fucking unbelievable. He's sidelined with injury at the moment. He didn't even play last year. He was coaching in a private academy in Belgium, and they brought him in to play.
So you're saying there's still a chance for me and Zorro.
Well, we know with the egos you boys have, you'd fancy it. No, okay.
Look.
Are we going to see?
Well,
can Perth?
Michel,
either get rid of Taggart, or who's one player who's Perth. He's identity. You've brought back Josh Risdon. You're trying to bring through a couple of local players. You've got this project. You've got your foreigners wrong. You've got your signings wrong this year, from what we can say. Do you try and change all that in January? Is the January window just a disaster? You're not going to get relegated. What do you do? This is a factor as well.
This is a problem when you've got a salary cap league as well, is that can they afford to do that in respect to the salary cap being used up? Those players, all 4 players, are going to go, all right, not going. You got to pay me my money. Then they've got to come to an agreement.
That's the same in any league, exactly. Salary cap or otherwise.
But the problem is then, in any other league, you can go, we'll pay you out and we'll give the next guy $500,000. Who gives a shit? In this league, you might go, shit, that only leaves us $150K left that we can spend. Is a good foreigner going to come for that, or what? All that stuff. Tommy Michela's signed, and I know they're waiting for international clearance, but he can't come in until the window. Is that right? I'm looking at it.
No, apparently he hasn't played. He was a free agent already, from my understanding. Right. He was already a free agent the last window, so he could come in before January 1st. Right. But I mean, we're almost there. Yeah. Anyway.
Fuck, I would have had him on the park on the weekend then, whether he played or not for fucking 5 months, because we know what he can do at least, and I think he would show some aggression and determination and grab people by what Rob Stanton's sort of talking about, grabbing some people by the scruff of the neck and going, fucking do your job, because no one's really doing that at all at the moment there. So the only other thing I will say about this game is that, do we look at victory and say you should have won 6-0? You really, with all that domination and all that, and we've constantly talked about Melbourne victory over the past 18 months, 2.5 years, about being profligate in front of goal. Do we look at that and say, is that a good result, 2-0, or should you really be fucking punishing these teams 5-6-0 to really set a mark, because they look great, they look good looking, they play great football. Against a team like that, I'm saying they should have scored more.
Yeah, 100%. Like you, Robbie, said before, Mashash, needs to start now constantly scoring goals to add to his game. He's fantastic. I love him as well. I love watching him. I love the little moment. I think it was in the second half. Him and Azani had a little 1, 2, 3, 4 passes with each other, just taking the piss. But it was like they were in training, taking the piss. I love that. That's great. In that area of the park, away you go and do that. But then have an end product. Don't let it just, we've had fancy flicks to each other 4 times, but then we lose possession. Actually go, like you say, be ruthless and go and score another goal. Don't take the foot off the gas. If you really want to be a top team, go and smash those teams 6-7-0. Put those chances away. So it's just about being ruthless and having that mindset of, look, guys, we're miles ahead of you, and we're going to put the foot on the throat and actually crush it.
It's also a way of respecting the opposition and the game as well, isn't it? To keep going. Don't take your foot off. You're not fucking taking the piss. It's not training. Keep going. And I'm sure PK would not be happy with the fact that they I wouldn't say they're taking the piss just because they do play like that from the first minute, more or less, especially those two. Like, they fucking love it. You can see they love it out there. Okay, we've got to talk about Jason Guerrier. that miss, he's literally, I reckon, 70 centimetres out from goal with no keeper. If that, like I'm being generous here.
Do you know how far
he
out
doesn't
he is?
even hit the crossbar. He doesn't even hit the crossbar. How did he not even hit the crossbar?
He's so close.
Unbelievable.
The only furthest way he is from the goal is so he can get the ball up and not hit the fucking crossbar. I don't know how he's done it to this.
It's impossible. It is literally probably impossible. He wouldn't be able to do it again.
Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic.
And yet we're still going to talk about Pat Wood's miss. Unfortunately for Pat, and we've got to bring it back again.
Comes back into my head every time.
But that is miss of the season so far. We've had a couple. I'm trying to think what the others are.
We should try to do one of these near the end of the year.
Yeah, try and keep a list. But mate, Jason Garrett, and he knows it, and everyone else in the stadium knew it as well. You see, even the people behind the goal who have no depth of field, who can't see the angles, we're all like, how did that happen?
That's why we love football. And you know what? What I love too, that they'll go into the shed, sit down, and they'll all be sitting there, and then someone will just make eyes with Jason, and he'll go, fuck off. Because he'll know what's coming. Your teammates will be fucking giving it to you.
All right. I think
as a fellow defender, I'll say, don't worry about it. You know, it's fine.
Do you have a good miss like that in your locker? Do you remember?
No, I don't. But
nothing like that.
I do. Plenty.
I never got that far up the field anyway.
That's the thing. I've got plenty of them.
All right.
That's why I can laugh at the people.
Exactly. Oh, it was a beautiful, Sunday league moment. You just want to see that. The GoPro footage from the five-a-side grounds where people show, is this the worst 30 seconds of football ever? What we need is that GoPro footage, someone to mock it up and show the miss by Jason Guerrier. Brilliant. And still, thoughts and wishes, Pat.
Hey, Robbie, for this game, can I shout a stat for the Central Coast City?
Oh, yeah, I've got a stat. Hang on, I've got a stat to shout.
Shout your stat.
I've got to shit out my stat for this one first. So, Stato. Andy Howe, he's been awesome this week because he sent me two. I've got one for Sydney, whether that is in keeping with you, Macca, but before we move on from Perth, and I feel a little bit bad about this because I've worked with Striller. He's a fucking legend of a guy, but mate. So Striller has equalled Theodorakopoulos for the record of career games as head coach without a win at 7. In terms of winless starts to an A-League coaching career, however, the record is 10 games without a win. Phil Stubbins at Newcastle 2014-15. Now, is there a theme here, boys, for two Newcastle lads? Because Theodorakopoulos, I think, was Newcastle as well, if memory serves me correctly. So is Phil Stubbins. Another noteworthy winless start to the A-League men's head coaching career, and this is that little olive branch, that little bit of that ray of sunshine, the hope
Johnny Aloisi,
that will ultimately kill us all. No, it's Guillermo Amor, who didn't win any of his first 8 games in charge of Adelaide in 2015-16, and they won the fucking league.
Yes, I remember.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Pile your money on Perth Glory if you're that way inclined, which I'm not.
Hey, I'll go and buy some Bitcoin at a really high price. Fucking one more chance.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a little stat courtesy of Andrew Howe. He is the A-League Stato legend. I can't show you because if I'm sounding a little echoey as well, it's because I've half emptied my house. I'm moving this week. So I don't have his Encyclopedia of Socceroos to show you, but he is a great author and legend of the game, and we have a couple more stats of his to shit out with our last game, which is the Central Coast Mariners versus Sydney FC. Macca, I'm a big fan of Alu Kuol. I love just his fucking work rate and the way he puts himself about. I'm happy he got 2 goals. Klamala got 1 back. Devonish Mears, first start, red card. You got to rate that. The most probably biggest thing about this match is that the Mariners are fucking doing it. 4 games without a win last year. Newcastle Jets in the derby, and then they ended up winning the league. And here they are again, 4 games without a win. Newcastle Jets won it in the derby, and now back-to-back wins. Did they deserve it, or were they fucking lucky?
No, look, fair credit to Sydney. Even when they lose a player, they don't stop. They still come in. Like they push through up front at times when they to try and go and get something out of the game. They snatched a goal to make it 1-1. That ball from Docker for Alu's second goal was fucking phenomenal. Just finesse, beautiful goal. Docker should have scored in the first half when he broke through and beat Devonish Mears, but put it wide. Should have scored that one. So I think they were okay for the win in my eyes. The game seemed entertaining. I will say that that's 3 red cards in 6 games for Sydney this season. I went back and had a look. They had 8 red cards last season, which topped the league. They had 6 red cards the year before, which tops the league. And I'm sort of now...
So they got practice.
Yes.
They got practice at playing a man down.
And I think under Uffy, they're averaging a red card at something around about a red card every 3 games. And I'm looking at that and going, okay, is it unlucky? Are they picked on? Or is it just fucking clumsiness or whatever? But that's a lot of red cards. And they're topping the league again. So something that they need to look at, that discipline, because it's obviously costing them. But I thought, to be fair, in those wet conditions, I thought the Mariners were okay. To be fair, I thought, they got it through. Goring, I keep saying Goring. Alu hadn't scored in 16 games, got a brace. I don't think he's the goal scorer that's going to get him 15 to 20 goals. But you're right. His work rate is phenomenal. He causes problems.
Do they have one?
No.
Do they have one somewhere in their ranks?
No.
So
I've said that. I think I've said that before on here. But yeah, I thought they were all right for the win. Sydney fans came in force.
Yeah, there was that question, wasn't there? Just quickly about the beach party travelling supporters. Last season it was fantastic. It was a perfect day for it as well, when the Sydney FC all showed up with their blow-up, beach paraphernalia and Hawaiian shirts. And this year, the Mariners fans sent out a thing saying everyone come in beach attire as well, which was a bit weird. Sydney fans sort of like, what do this is our thing.
A big party together.
But anyway, exactly, bring it on in Gosford in the rain. Zorro, what'd you make of this one?
Yeah, obviously I think the sending off, not ruined the game, but it didn't ruin the game, but it was a big factor. And even though the Coast, I think, are slowly getting better, I think the sending off was obviously a huge advantage for them. If it had been, I think it would have been a different story if it had remained 11v11 though. But yeah, Garang, hello. I thought the header was fantastic. The way, went back, it was a fantastic header. But yeah, his work rate's phenomenal. And look, you say they haven't got a goal scorer. Well, it's time for him or someone to step up. It's all right to keep saying, he's not going to be a 15, 20 man goal. Well, why not? Why, are you practicing at training? You got the platform to go and do it. Take charge. But they're definitely getting better, the Mariners, for sure. They're definitely improving.
I know they are working on it in training, because we all know that it's probably the hardest part of the game, and they shared their goals around last year. There wasn't really a standout big goal scorer. When Jason Cummings left, he left a big hole in that area, and we saw the 3 strikers with those Edmondson, Quoll and Jing Reeks getting rotated last year. And they've done a hell of a lot of work in that front area. Sometimes it just, you just got to click. And, hopefully for the Mariners now, Alu proves me wrong here and goes off on a big run now and scores 10, 12, 15 goals in the rest of the season and shoots them up there. But, I do think that potentially if the Sydney had 11 players, it may have been a different story. But you know what? They didn't. They had 10 players for the 3rd time this season, and it's costing them.
All right, that was some great stat chatting, Macca. I've got a couple more little layers to add to that, dumps to add to that, courtesy of Stato. Harrison Devonish Mears became just the 12th player in Australian National League history, so NSL included, to be sent off in his first appearance, just the fourth player to be sent off on debut in the A-League after Craig Moore for Brisbane Roar in 2007, Isaias for Adelaide in 2013, and Jan Sass, who was sent off on debut, remember, for that sort of lungy slip studs challenge for Wellington in 2022. Devonish Mears' 42nd minute send-off was the second fastest of any of those 12s, beaten by Sass again, who was sent off in the 25th minute. Incidentally, and this is where Stato really earns his keep and goes to the next level. Incidentally, it was 1 year ago today, the 9th of December, when Devonish Mears' goalkeeper replacement, Andrew Redmayne, received the only red card of his entire career when he was sent off in the 15th minute of that game against Macarthur last year when he came out and handled outside the box. Sydney lost that one 2-0 to Macarthur. Redmayne's first sending off after 21,983 minutes of A-League football. There you go. Dirty player. All right.
How the hell do you get those stats? Like, it's incredible.
Amazing, isn't it?
Like, where do you get that from?
I'll be honest with you now, Zorro.
Stato.
I
know, but Jesus, that's incredible.
My go-to now is
Macca.
I can Google that or I can look for that, and I just go, fuck. I just go to Twitter, private message, Andy. He must be like, fuck off, Macca. But every time he comes back with what I asked, and then he'll have another layer or two underneath.
Another layer.
Like,
Exactly.
In alphabetical order.
Yeah. So Stato, just for the backstory, I'm sure he won't mind me sharing this. I've mentioned it before, I think. He did his studies at the ANU, where I did as well. And we actually played a couple of games together back in the lower divisions when we were kicking around in our drunken uni days. And then we caught up, 20 years later when I came back to commentate the A-League the first time. So he lives in Adelaide and he has a garage which should be basically a FA museum. Like this should be insured. This is the history of the game in Australia. Authors, when they're writing a book about the A-League or about the NSL, go and visit Stato's garage because there's just newspaper articles, photos, all the stats of the history of the game is here. Now, I don't have the address. There's no point going looking around in Adelaide to try and find it. But and he works. This is the beauty of it. He does have a day job, even though this is more or less full time. He works for the Australian Bureau of Statistics. I can get in there. So he does, so it's not only his day job, or rather his hobby. He's got stats coming out his ass for his day job as well.
Rain Man.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Wow. So good on you. We love you, Stato. Keep up the good work. I actually have a little fear because there are a couple, I mentioned it last week. There's Ultimate A-League, a website where you can go on and find out all the information about the A-League. A-League Stats, which comes out of Perth, where Pete runs that. That's another great website. That also has women's stats as well for all the women's A-League. What's going to happen when these guys just say, I'm packing it up, because there's this database of, hopefully this has been passed on. This is where I say FA should,
this is where the young generation needs to put the gloves, take the gloves off and start writing shit down and fucking being aggressive with their stats taking. Fuck.
Exactly. No, but it's serious. This is the game. This is the history of the game, There's Oz Football is another one. Ozfootball.net is that is, there are historians out there that love the game and that are preserving the history of the game, but we're not the Serie A or, the English Premier League where this weight of this body of work exists. These are a few people, and I'm sorry if you also, have a memorabilia museum of A-League, and then I know you're out there and you're not mentioned, get in contact. Fuck, why not? We'll give you a shout out. But this has to be preserved, and hopefully this gets to be passed on. That's my main thing, because as a commentator, when you lose a resource like this, if something was to happen, if the website was to just disappear, this would all be lost.
You'd have to make shit up.
Exactly. Fake news, and then who knows who the fuck would get elected. You know, we as commentators don't make shit up. Never.
Oh, don't you?
Co-coms. Maybe co-coms
occasionally.
do.
Maybe. maybe. All right, let's have a quick look. We're almost done. Quick look at the ladder. Auckland FC, 18 points, 6 wins from 6. Melbourne Victory retook second place. Melbourne Victory, incidentally, one last stat. The only team yet to have had a bye in the top 7. So they've had an extra game. Everyone else that's had an extra game, Macarthur, Western United and Perth Glory, are all still languishing outside finals football. So even with that advantage, they're not there. Or perhaps all this talk about the bye being bad for you, maybe not. Auckland lead the way, then Melbourne Victory. Adelaide are third, 14 points. 2 points further back, so 18, 16, 14, 12, 10. We're spread out in the top 5. Wellington, with 10 points in 5th. Sydney FC, 9 points, level with the Central Coast Mariners, but ahead on goal difference, +1 to -1. The Mariners sit outside the 6, but are on a charge with back-to-back wins. Macarthur, a further point behind. Western Sydney are in 9th place with 7. The 13 teams has really thrown me because it used to be so easy to work out where people were outside that now I've got to try and go through it and count every time. Western United, Newcastle Jets, Perth Glory are 12th. No, well, I don't I'll have a word to one of these websites I'm looking at to add the numbers. Brisbane Roar and Perth Glory are still winless. The Jets have 1 win and 3 points. Perth Glory, 2 draws and 2 points. Brisbane Roar, 1 draw, 5 defeats, 1 point. Perth Glory have conceded 20 goals in 7 matches, so nearly 3 a game. And Brisbane Roar have conceded 18 in 6, so 3 a game. That's it. We're done?
Yeah,
Happy?
Get the fuck out of here.
Any final thoughts? Okay.
Thanks, Zorro.
Zorro.
Just remember, it's Ellington now, not Wellington.
Exactly. I've spoken like a true expat in Australia, but from Auckland still.
Auckland, yeah. Don't worry. If things do go pear-shaped for Wellington, are going to give it back at big time.
Exactly.
It's coming.
Do you know which, incidentally, and this is final one from Stato, who is the biggest population of immigrants in Australia last year?
Kiwis.
Who was? Where did they come from?
Kiwis.
Huh? That's it.
Yeah.
Kiwis. So welcome, of course.
You can't. I wouldn't trust them if I was you.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, do all that sort of thing. Get involved in the conversation. Send us messages, do whatever. We will try and get maybe questions running again soon if someone can find the time. Not me. And that's it. Thumbs up from everyone. Thank you, AJ Hawkins, our long-suffering producer. Thank you, Chris Zoricich, for joining us. And thank you, Macca.
See you guys.
And to quote Alessandro Diamanti, thank you to me, too, for hosting this. All right. Well played, team.